It is a pleasure to welcome you at this change of venue for the MIUD at the Royal Queen, which I hope you're enjoying this morning. Before moving on with our program for today, let's have a look at a video showcasing the mission of the MIUD, which is to be an agent of change, enabling directors and future leaders to achieve highest business practices for corporate sustainability. I hope you've enjoyed this snippet of the work the Institute is doing, and we would be happy to give you more information on our upcoming events later on during the networking. Honorable Maurice Info, Minister of Financial Services and Good Governance, Ms. Katrina Lalore, Chargée d'Affaires, Australian High Commission, Mr. Satrajit Sardar, Deputy Chief of Mission, US Embassy, Mrs. Helen Apong, Senior Policy Advisor, British High Commission, Mr. Mark Parkinson, Chairperson of the MIUD, Mrs. Sheila Judah, CEO of the MIUD, Mrs. Ajha Safari, Country Head of Wholesale Banking and Executive Director of HSBC Mauritius, Mrs. Alexandra Bolton, Director of Climate Governance Initiative Global, Mrs. Sunita, Chairperson and Director, Climate Governance Malaysia, board members, founders, patrons, and members of the MIUD, our distinguished partners from regulatory bodies and dedicated institutions, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. My name is Nafiza, and it is my utmost privilege to welcome you today in this wonderful setting for the launch of the Climate Governance Initiative Mauritius chapter, which is being organized today in collaboration with our esteemed founder, HSBC Mauritius. Climate governance is more than just a buzzword. It is a moral and ethical obligation we owe to future generations. As the world grapples with the consequences of climate change, we must recognize that solutions lie not just in scientific innovation, but also in sound governance, policies, and a united global effort. The MIUD has been instrumental in advocating for transparency, accountability, and responsible decision-making to address the pressing climate issues. Ladies and gentlemen, it is thus with great pleasure that I invite to the stage the CEO of the MIUD, Mrs. Sheila Judah, for her welcome note at this launch event. If you could please join me, Sheila. Thank you. Thank you, Nafiza, and Honorable Mahen Kumar Siratan, Minister of Financial Services and Good Governance, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Mark Watkinson, Chairperson of the Mauritius Institute of Directors, our HSBC partners, Ajra Sakolu, Country Head of Wholesale Banking and Executive Director, and Yang Kun Singh here, Corporate Sustainability Manager, MID directors and members of the press, distinguished guests, all protocols observed. A very good morning to you all, and welcome to this launch ceremony of the Climate Governance Initiative Mauritius. I'm extremely pleased to see such a wonderful audience here at Royal Green, and as its name suggests, as well as the decor, it resonates well with the theme of today. Imagine for a moment our world is a violin, and each string on the violin is important for keeping our world in balance. And when the strings are tuned and played well, they make lovely music that represents life. But if one of the strings gets out of tune, the music changes and life becomes more difficult. And this is where we find ourselves today. Climate change is that discordant note disturbing this delicate balance. Our challenge today is to retune our global violin and protect the melody of life so that it can continue beautifully and sustainably. The Climate Governance Initiative, in a sense, is about providing the knowledge and tools to tune those strings back and restore this crucial balance. But this effort cannot be made by one violinist only. It requires a concerted effort, from the conductor to the audience, and from leaders to every individual. At MID, we care about this good cause. So we teamed up with one of the esteemed founders, HSBC Mauritius. This collaboration symbolizes our strong relationship with our key stakeholders, including our founders and patrons. The Institute is proud to be spearheading this movement because we think it is the game changer in the fight against climate change. Even as I speak to you right now, climate change is actively reshaping our world and redefining the future, but not in the best ways, unfortunately. The impact of climate change is so profound and far-reaching that our violin falls out of tune, and we cannot ignore the dire climate events that have occurred in recent times. A report from the World Meteorological Organization this year revealed that from 1970 to 2021, we faced 11,778 weather, climate, and water-related disasters. These events have even taken over 2 million lives and cost $4.3 trillion. These aren't just numbers. They are stark reminders of a climate in crisis. Nowadays, we see heat waves, floods, droughts, and melting glaciers almost every day on our news feeds. Mauritius faces unique challenges as an island nation. We are seeing more droughts and flash floods. The frequency of these events has surged in the last 5 years, putting our people at increased risk. While we have made progress on the economic front, we remain vulnerable and at the mercy of the ominous effects of climate change and its weather patterns. Thus, with our planet sending us
multitude of warning signals, the call is clear. We must respond with determination and act together. In this context, collaboration between the public and private sectors is vital. The Mauritius Institute of Directors stands at the forefront of this endeavor as a key partner and serving as a driving force, uniting leaders and decision makers in Mauritius to drive innovative solutions and champion effective climate governance for a sustainable future. The CGI Mauritius launch is therefore a big step in our effort to deal with climate challenges and ensure we are taking proactive action to make climate management a reality. Climate governance is therefore a notion that we should all become familiar with. It is a new board imperative. Today we are excited to be part of the CGI network, which helps us work together globally to tackle climate change effectively by sharing resources and a common framework, including the application of the World Economic Forum principles. And as an advocacy forum of the MIOD, the CGI Mauritius aims to be pivotal in promoting effective climate governance in Mauritius, bearing in mind our island distinct vulnerabilities. This collaborative space not only showcases the interconnectedness of our challenges, but also the shared responsibility in crafting solutions together. And I take this opportunity to thank our collaborators from CGI, whose support has been instrumental in the setting up of the CGI Mauritius chapter. Mr. Minister, your presence and the engagement of your ministry is a clear testimony of the trust in MIOD actioning on this crucial subject matter. Moreover, I would like to express my gratitude to the MIOD and HSBC team, Mantra Connections here at the back, members from our advisory council and steering committee, as well as our supporting partners, namely KPMG Mauritius, PwC Mauritius, and Accenture Mauritius. As we move forward, we urge all directors and stakeholders, whether from the private and public sectors, to actively participate in CGI Mauritius forums, complimentary webinars, and networking events. These opportunities will equip you to establish a strong climate governance structure in your organizations and become guardians of a more sustainable and resilient future. Last but not least, it's not only about safeguarding our island, but also about preserving our way of life for generations to come. So together, let's shift from making promises to taking concrete action, because there is no better way forward than through action. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila, for this insightful note. Indeed, there's a need for all of us to work in tune to tackle climate governance urgency by having this at the forefront of our agenda in Mauritius. And here the MIOD continues its unwavering dedication to advancing governance practices that foster sustainable development for mutual benefit of businesses and the society. In the spirit of today's event, I have the honor to have joining us virtually the Director of Climate Governance Initiative Global, Mrs. Alexandra Bolton, to address us a few words on the occasion of the launch of the Mauritian chapter. I believe Alexandra is connected with us right now. Hi, Alexandra, can you hear us?
Hello, yes, I can hear you loud and clear, thank you.
Perfect, over to you now. Thank you.
Thank you. So firstly, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here. I visited Mauritius 30 years ago and fell in love with your country, so I'm delighted to be here to celebrate with you the launch of the Climate Governance Initiative Mauritius chapter. I would like to tell you a little bit about the Climate Governance Initiative, what we do, and how we think that this makes a difference to the world. I very much like Sheila's analogy of the violin and the orchestra, because that's what we do. Our mission is to mobilise boards around the world to deliver a net zero, climate resilience economy, and enabling that through effective climate corporate governance, mobilising boards to act. It's about us all working together, individually as directors, within our companies, and globally. We have a vision that there is a critical mass of boards internationally that are proactively governing their organisations to ensure that they fully contribute to resolving the global climate challenge. And we believe we can do this through collaboration. Our values underpin everything we do, and everything that we do is focused on an impact. So our first value is being impact focused. We're highly motivated to make a difference through effective climate governance. And we use that impact, those outcomes that we want to see, as the lens when we're making our decisions. Whether that's what we do as an initiative, what we do in the chapters, or what we do in our boards. We're collaborative. This word's come up a lot already today. Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the United Nations, said earlier this year, when talking about the climate challenge, that we must collaborate or perish. That's a very stark message, but he's right. When we work together, we can do amazing things. So within the initiative, we work with others who share our goals to achieve our mission, and we value the importance of collaboration. We understand that within business, there are competition, and that's a necessary part of business. But when we collaborate as business leaders, we can do far more than we can do just within our organisations. And we're also entrepreneurial. We need to be fast-acting and creative. We need to learn from our actions and the actions of others, so we can take best practice and replicate it, and that so only one of us makes an error and the rest of the community learns. So our values are being impact-focused, collaborative, and entrepreneurial. The initiative is founded on the World Economic Forum's Principles for Effective Climate Governance, and I'd like to go through those a little bit, if I may. So we're talking about climate accountability, command of the subject, board structure, materiality assessment, strategic integration, incentivization, reporting and disclosure, and exchange. So what do I mean by that? When I'm talking about climate accountability on boards, we all know that the board is ultimately responsible to the stakeholders, the shareholders, for short-term profitability, but also for the long-term stewardship of the company. And accordingly, the board is also accountable, therefore, for the long-term resilience with access to the shifts that we see through the climate challenge. And this is part of the director's duties. We talk about Principle 2, command of the subject, and we know that boards can't be full of climate experts, but we do know that if a composition is sufficiently diverse in knowledge, skills, experience, and background, that it will encourage effective debate and taking the correct decisions, informed by an awareness and understanding of the climate-related opportunities and risks. To do that, you have to have the correct board structure. The boards are the stewards for the long-term performance and resilience of the company, and therefore the structure of the board needs to be determined in such a way as to be the most effective structure to integrate climate considerations into not just the board structure, but the committees that work with it. The board needs to ensure that the management can assess the short, medium and long-term materiality of climate-related opportunities and risks, for a company on an ongoing basis, and to ensure that the organisation's actions and responses to climate are proportionate to the materiality of the climate within the company. We talk about strategic integration, that the board must ensure that climate is systematically informing the strategic investment planning and decision-making processes, and that's embedded into the management of risk and opportunities within the organisation. We talk about incentivisation, that the board ensures that executive incentives are aligned to promote the long-term prosperity of the company, and that the board might want to consider including climate-related targets and indicators into their executive incentive schemes. We talk about reporting and disclosure, so that a board can ensure that the material climate-related risks, opportunities and strategic decisions are consistently and transparently disclosed to all stakeholders, particularly to investors and regulators where required. And such disclosures are in things like financial filings, annual reports, accounts, and subject to the same disclosure governance as financial reporting. And finally, we talk about exchange. And this is back in a way to the violin and to the orchestra. The board must maintain regular exchanges and dialogues with peers, with policymakers, with investors and other stakeholders to encourage this sharing of methodologies and to stay informed about the latest climate relevant risks, opportunities, regulatory environments and so forth. Our ambition is that boards are transformed through the implementation of the World Economic Forum's 8 principles for effective climate governance. This will be evidenced by progress of companies whose board members are active members of the chapters over the next 2 or 3 years, and in an overall increase of the number of companies with transition plans that are compatible with the 1.5 degree scenario laid out in Paris. Chapters have an absolutely instrumental role to play for this ambition to be realised, which is another reason why I'm so thrilled to be here today. We work in the initiative through strategic action areas, supporting the network, strengthening the chapter network by engaging the chapters, building this robust community of climate board leaders, advocates and supporting partners to make sure that we can deepen our impact beyond that which we could do individually in our individual countries or regions. We deliver effective climate governance content so that board leaders can have the knowledge, the skills and the peer-to-peer learning to pick up the World Economic Forum's principles and enact them in their boards, in their country, in their chapters. And we're focused on driving this impactful growth, making a real difference in the network to the critical economies that will increase the global climate impact that we can have. We don't work alone. We have this fantastic network of chapters, in which I'm delighted to welcome Mauritius today, but we work with the World Economic Forum, we work with an expert community, and we work with other corporate climate action community members and partners beyond our network, going back to Guterres, who know that we must collaborate to make this a reality. We work to make sure there's fast-track dissemination so that directors can have access quickly to the information they need. And our network is more than 100,000 individuals at the moment and growing, which is incredibly exciting. We work to make sure that communications are aligned and collaborative so that there can be a really strong connection to the broader climate action community working on these corporate climate action plans, and to make sure that chairs and directors are aligned in the way they're working to enact this climate action. And we, in the centre, are an independent convener. We work to connect, coordinate and convene all those who are dedicated to effective corporate climate action, working across not only our chapters, professional services firms, board advisors, training advisors, search agencies, so that we can improve climate competence on boards. We work globally. I think I mentioned at the beginning, Mauritius is our 30th chapter and our 72nd country to join the network. But we're still looking to grow. There are many more countries and regions that we want to bring into the network so that we can learn from them and they can learn from us. I want to talk to you just a little bit through the timeline of the initiative, which is comparatively new. The World Economic Forum principles were launched in 2019, followed closely by the launch of our first chapters in Italy, Malaysia and the UK. Soon after, France and Switzerland came on board, and in March 2021 we had the first global summit and launched chapters in Brazil, Brussels, Canada, Chile, Germany and some of the Nordic countries. Soon followed by Poland, the United States and Australia. We launched in Singapore in October 21 and Romania, and then a large hub in the ASEAN hub, Central America and the Caribbean, Ireland, Mexico and New Zealand. Recent Hong Kong and Ukraine and Caucasus came on soon after that, Netherlands, Uzbekistan and Egypt. And in August this year, we had our second summit in Singapore, which is incredibly exciting. We've launched in Turkey, in Southern Africa, in Hong Kong, and now here we are today, launching in Mauritius. And as I said, I'm absolutely thrilled to be here. I want to offer my thanks to everybody who's made this happen, and a huge congratulations. I'm really looking forward to working with the Climate Governance Initiative Mauritian chapter in the future to make sure we have effective climate governance on our board. Thank you so much for inviting me here today, and congratulations again.